My next guest is the Senior Vice President of PEARSON, the largest company on education. Karl Engkvist, please, Karl. Welcome. Great to have you on board. Thank you. Karl, you have more than 20 years of experience in education, 10 years spent in Asia. That's quite unique. So could you please highlight your track record for us?
Sure, Frank. Thank you very much. It's great to be here. As you mentioned, I work for PEARSON, which was founded during the Qing dynasty and now is busy trying to become part of the 21st century. So I often look back, 10 years ago I arrived in China to start a joint venture between a technology company, a startup called Blackboard, and a Ministry of Education spin-off called CHINICT, whose offices are in the next building now. And I was very naive. I had no idea what I was getting into. After a few weeks, I was told I'm going on my first business trip. I said, oh, where's the first business trip going to be to? He said, oh, Inner Mongolia. I said, Inner Mongolia? Wow, okay. I thought it would be Shanghai or Guangzhou or someplace. So I looked at the map and asked him to show me where we were going. And he pointed to the city, a capital city. And I saw it said H-O-H-H-O-T. I said, ho-ho. He said, no, that's ho-ho-how-tua. I said, oh, I'm in a lot of trouble here. So then we got on the plane, and on the plane, my colleague said, tomorrow it would be much better if you give the presentation. And I said, I cannot give this presentation. Well, I cannot speak Chinese. People won't understand me. He said, don't worry, I'll translate for you. I said, okay, all right, well, then I better see the presentation. Well, and so he pulled out the PowerPoint presentation, and I looked at it. And of course, it's all Hanzi. There's no English at all, the whole presentation. I said, I cannot give this presentation. I can't read anything here. He said, Karl, don't worry. You say what you want to say. I'll tell them what they need to hear. So that was my introduction to doing business in China. And it taught me a lot. Actually, I've used that story many times because it showed me that as a foreigner coming to do business in China, I had to be much more flexible, and I had to be much more willing to go with the flow, and I had to understand that we needed to adapt a product that was very successful globally for the local Chinese market. The other thing I was very naive about was this idea that there's a central government that really controls everything in China. We thought that by partnering with the Ministry of Education, that we would just fly from city to city, and we would show our agreement, we would have our chop between us and the spin-off CERNET, and we would have new customers. And very soon someone said to me, Karl, do you know any Chinese idioms? I said, Chinese idioms? I don't know. He said, 4-character ideas that tell you a little bit about China. He said, let me tell you one. He said, the mountain is high and the emperor is far away. And from that I realized that even though things were very different in China, the selling cycle would probably be very similar. And so over 2 years I worked with universities all across China. I visited 29 different provinces. I have 5 more that I need to visit before I turn 50. That's one of my life goals. And I got to travel to Tibet to work. I went to Xizang Dashui and met with the person responsible for choosing the font to display Tibetan language on the internet. And so many of these experiences really changed my life. It's a very exciting time. The internet was created at universities, and yet education is one of the last industries to really be disrupted by technology. But we're in the midst of that right now, and PEARSON is definitely taking a lead. So I look forward to sharing some of those ideas.
Yeah, as I was mentioning earlier, PEARSON is the largest company in education in the world. As PEARSON Senior Vice President, could you share a little bit the different areas of business of the company?
Sure. PEARSON is a large company. We have over 40,000 employees located in 70 different countries. More than 100 million students each year use our textbooks or our digital content, our iPad apps, some of our software that we deliver. And so we really do have a broad perspective on what's happening in education. Really, the business breaks down into several different big categories. The first is the one that we're most famous for, is textbooks. So you may be familiar with Longman as a brand, an imprint. That's one of the Pearson brands that we publish under. But here in China, we co-publish with FLTRP, with Renmin University Press, with Tsinghua Daxue Press, also with New Horizons for English language, some other famous programs. So textbook publishing is a major business. 10 years ago, that was the vast majority of our education businesses within Pearson. Pearson also owns the Financial Times, and we also own Penguin Books. Other education businesses that we've begun operating in the last 10 years are very important to our future. One of them is a software business where we acquire software platforms and then customize them for use with Pearson content. So a learning management system that allows professors to manage their classes, a course management system, content management that allows an institution to manage all the digital content that it has, and a variety of other things. And then, of course, we offer services to back this up, professional development to help teachers know how to use technology better in the classroom, these sorts of things.
How is technology today creating a revolution in education, and how is Pearson leveraging on it?
Maybe I can tell another quick story here. The other day, some friends of mine sent me a link to a video on YouTube, and it was a video of a little girl. She was 1 year old. In the video, she was playing with a magazine, but she wasn't playing with a magazine the way you might expect. She was playing with a magazine was here, and she was trying to zoom in on the photo, and it wasn't working. So she said, okay, well, I'll just turn the page. But that didn't work. So then she said, well, maybe it's my finger. So she pushed down her knee to make sure, oh, my finger is working, but this magazine is not working. Then her father gives her an iPad, and she's very comfortable. This is a 1 year old girl. She's very comfortable using the iPad. And the tagline is, for my 1 year old daughter, a magazine is a broken iPad. Okay? So we had our management team meeting, and we're doing our 3-year strategic plan. And I said, wow, in 3 years, that little girl is going to start kindergarten. Are we ready for that girl to be our customer? It's a big change for a company that's used to providing textbook-based materials. And so even though we have about 50 apps that are available through the Apple App Store, and even though we have 50 million students around the world using online content, we have a lot of work to do. But the good news is people are much more prepared for this than they used to be. You know, one of the things that used to happen whenever you came to a conference like this, people would say, when you're in the room, please turn off your cell phone. Please turn off your mobile phone. But I bet almost everyone here has a mobile phone. So if we have a minute, maybe do a quick experiment.
No, of course, we have 1 minute and even 2 and whatever you need. Yeah.
Okay, is everyone willing to do a little e-learning experiment? See if we can learn something together? Okay, so please, everyone, pull out your phone. Okay, so, you know, this phone is really important to me. It has all sorts of important information on it. It has all my contact information, my emails, some photographs, text messages. You know, you probably send text messages to your wife or your husband or your boyfriend or your girlfriend. Hopefully only one of those people. No more than one for each of you, okay? But anyway, a lot of private information. Anyway, in order to do the experiment, to show how significant this is, please, everyone, turn on your phone and unlock it. Okay, now, you know, group learning is also a very important thing. So for this to work, what I want you to do is just hand the phone to the person next to you. Okay, now how do you feel right now? Everyone looks very...
I feel good myself because you have a newest version of the iPhone, so basically I win in the exchange. So
that was not a trade, that was just sharing. All right, most people feel very uncomfortable when their phone is in somebody else's hands. So for us, that's the end of the experiment. I just want to show how important the mobile phone has become to everyone. When I leave my house in the morning, if I forgot my wallet, I'll find someone to borrow money for lunch. But if I leave my phone at home, I'm going back to get it. And so as a company, we know this is the device, this, tablets, and other very portable devices are where people are going to be learning. So the fact that the internet began in education means it's going to have the biggest impact on education. And that's where really our 40,000 employees are very focused on making sure that we're ready for the next generation.
Okay. More specifically on China, how is Pearson contributing to improve education?
Well, China is just a fascinating place. Of course, I lived here for 3 years, then I moved back to the US, found that I really missed living in Asia. I've recently moved back to Hong Kong, so I'm very happy to be back here in Beijing. And I've just been reminded and also seen how quickly things change here in China. I mean, just in the period from 1998 until now, the enrollment in universities in China has gone from 8 million students to 27 million students. More than tripled in just 15 years. And during that same time, the enrollment in the US has stayed the same at 15 million. So it went from being half of US enrollment to almost double US enrollment. So Pearson looks at this and says, okay, in addition to that, there are 300 million students enrolled in schools. There's something like 250 to 300 million people learning English. So what are the projects that we're focused on? Of course, it's with schools, universities, learning English. The schools level, as an example, we're working with the Beijing city government right now to roll out a learning management system for many schools so that teachers can make materials available to students anytime, anywhere, and so that parents can see that material online when they log in from home. This allows for a very personalized learning experience. Technology really makes a difference when it delivers the right content to the right person at the right time. We know we have the right content. We've acquired some companies that really are the right technologies. We're now in the midst of a major shift to combine those two things so that we can make a learning as efficient and effective as possible. Also in China, we're doing some joint ventures. So one joint venture very, very nearby, we have a company that has developed software that allows computers to grade writing samples from students. So students write a paragraph or an essay, the software could grade the student performance. The grading is really based on the writing style, so it will say, your use of vocabulary is very good for your age level. Your use of grammar is very good for your level. Your word length, your sentence length is too consistent. You should have some short sentences, some longer sentences to make it interesting to the reader. The paragraphs are not well defined. You need a better initial statement at the beginning of the paragraph. So software could do this. Before, one teacher with 30 students, it's a lot of work to grade 30 papers. But the software could do this now. The teacher can then go help look at the comments and provide specific feedback. So the computer becomes a teacher's assistant. And in fact, this is so interesting in China that we're doing a joint venture with Beijing. So Peking University's research and development teams are working with us to develop a Chinese version of this product to enable Chinese to be graded in the same way that English is being graded today. Those are two examples. Pearson recently acquired Wall Street English. So a famous brand. I noticed they have an office downstairs as well. It seems like this is very education-oriented here at Tsinghua Science Park. I guess Tsinghua University being close by is a good reason for all this education to be happening.
Actually, the right name here is Tsinghua University Science Park. Yeah.
Tsinghua University.
So it's totally integrated within Tsinghua University.
Right. The university is part of the name, and so we just see so many opportunities to utilize technology to improve education, whether it's test preparation for the Gaokao, whether it's English language instruction, whether it's arts and sciences. All of these things can be enhanced by technology.
One last question for you, Karl. You know that CHINICT is the largest conference on China tech innovation and entrepreneurship. So a large part of our audience, not only here but also online, is composed of entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
So if I'm an entrepreneur or if I'm a developer, what's the best way for me to interact with Pearson and ultimately maybe to create an app or a company that you guys might acquire?
First of all, thank you for including us in the hackathon. It's been very exciting for us to see the results.
Yeah.
My colleagues and I are here. We actually are right outside the conference hall. So during a break, if you'd like to talk with us, if you have an idea, we'll be available to have some conversations. Certainly, one of the best ways is to build a business. Pearson is ultimately a financially driven business. So we tend not to acquire technologies. We tend to acquire businesses. So if you can show that you have an education business that is succeeding, that has the ability to grow much more rapidly by being part of a larger organization where there's a bigger market inside of China or there's a bigger market outside of China that you're having trouble accessing without additional help, that's a good filter for us. In general, we look for companies that are doing at least 50 to 100 million renminbi. That said, we have released a set of APIs, and those APIs are becoming more popular. You can look, again, you can look on Apple's website and see the different types of apps that have been developed. We'd love to have people working with us for our content management system, instructional management system, learning management systems, to create add-ons to that, because we know we can't create all the features and functions that people will look for. So those are some ideas of some ways to interact with us. But Pearson's history since that Qing dynasty has largely been one of acquisition. So we look forward to having those conversations with the successful entrepreneurs here in the room.
All right. Thank you very much, Karl. It was very interesting. Thanks a lot.